Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 88 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, going to be joined by NASCAR driver Tommy Regan is here. We'll talk about his career and also his future plans. Plus, we'll have our news and notes segment with the latest happenings in the NASCAR world. And we'll also have our Ask David segment coming up at the end of today's show. As always, we are presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year on David's '08 Ford Mustang. And we want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck Race throughout the season. For the best deals on tickets, visit TicketSmarter.com to get your tickets today. That's TicketSmarter.com. David Starr joins us right now. David, fresh off a visit to Homestead Miami Speedway, where you started 31st, finished 21st, and then on the Cup side, Kyle Larson gets back into victory lane. Tell us about your weekend, David.
Man, it was a great weekend. Miami Homestead is such a great racetrack. Our Amtricity Ford Mustang was pretty good. We only ran one lap in practice. Just needed to make a kind of like a semi mock-up run to make sure we was in the race solidly. And but man, when the race started, man, it was a lot of fun. There for about 6-7 laps, you can run on the bottom in the middle. Then next thing you know, you're right up against the wall. When I say up against the wall, I'm talking about a couple inches off of it, man. You just but man, what a fun race. Jason Miller, my crew chief, we made some changes throughout the race, made our car better. Cautions didn't fall in our favor. And man, we ended up 21st, but coming off of not a very miserable race in Las Vegas, that was a night and day improvement. But man, it was a lot of fun, great race. And then to back it up with Sunday's Cup race was amazing. Just a great weekend of racing there at Miami Homestead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dominic Aragon from the RacingExperts.com joins us as well. And the newly married man, Dominic, Mr. Aragon, we'll talk more about that later. But Dom, first, the business of the day, Kyle Larson getting the win creates an interesting situation this playoff with him advancing to the championship for the owner's title, but not in the driver's situation here. We could have a split champion for the first time in 30-plus years.
You're right. I think somebody had put out maybe 1962 or 1963 was the last time this has happened. Certainly the first time in the Cup Series playoff era that this could happen. Look, we've seen this play out in the Xfinity Series. Roger Penske, Joe Gibbs Racing, they would do the 22 car and the 18 car, and you'd have a different owner's title champion and a different driver's champion. But we haven't seen this in the Cup Series in a long time. I think any of us were alive the last time that happened. So it's going to create a very interesting situation. Kyle Larson's number 5 team could go back-to-back and win the championship, at least from an owner's perspective. It'd be the 15th time Hendrick Motorsports has done that. And Tyler, David, I think it's really cool to hear Kyle Larson really talk about how if this was the situation it had to be, he would rather it be this way than to him be for a driver's championship without his team. That if he had to do it this way, he would do it like this every year because it's all about the team in the sport.
That's the politically correct answer, but nonetheless, it's nice from Kyle. But David, it's interesting going into I naturally say Homestead, going into Phoenix in a couple of weeks. Typically, we see guys move out of the way for the Final Four, and it comes down to one of those 4 playoff drivers here. If you're Kyle Larson, all the money is in the owner's title. The owner's title is still a big deal. I would have to imagine when it comes to that Phoenix race, there's no reason to think that Kyle Larson won't be running just as hard as the championship 4 for the drivers' championship.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's got a job to do. They hire him to win races, and that's what win championships, and that's what he's doing. And no difference when you go to the last race of the year, even though he's not part of the Final Four and racing for a championship, he is racing for the owner's championship. And he's racing to win. Over the years, we've all seen Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson win the race, and they actually won the last race and won the championship with it. But, it's a little bit different situation this coming, the final race here in Phoenix coming up. And I think you'll see what he did at Miami this past weekend. I think he'll try to do the same thing at Homestead, and every driver is, just because it's a championship race going on doesn't mean you're going to pull over and let people go by. I mean, we all have jobs to do. They hired us to drive race cars and to do the best we can do. And man, with the parity of this new car and all the different winners we've had this year in 2022, I don't see anybody pulling over or stepping out of the way for the final race to crown the champion, and it might be where our champion ends up fifth place, just as long as he beats the other three contenders. But man, it'll be a battle, like it is every week. But kind of exciting to see the situation that we're in. And I think it makes for even better racing. I don't know how you can do that because the racing's been phenomenal here lately.
And Dom, those other three Final Four spots, we know Joey Logano's going to be there, but the other three are up for grabs this Sunday, and it's anyone's guess who those final three will be.
Absolutely. Nobody's locked in on points, or have enough points, I should say, to be able to make it in to the Phoenix race by pointing their way until after the race. Logano's the only one that's guaranteed to be there. Ross Chastain has a comfortable points margin because he's finished back-to-back second-place finishes in this round of 8. But I don't know. Chase Elliott, William Byron, Ryan Blaney below the cut line now. Chase Briscoe is certainly in a must-win situation at Martinsville. We'll talk more about that Martinsville race later in the show. But, man, it's going to make for an interesting recipe for the race this weekend. I don't think we saw in April with Martinsville. We're not going to see that come Sunday.
And,
Yeah.
I'm seeing it the same thing across the board a lot through NASCAR. What I'm hearing is there's no one sticking out like, oh, this person's going to win, that guy's going to win, these people have it. Like, a lot of people are baffled. We don't know. I mean, I'm getting a lot of I don't know. And that's what I love about it right now is it's exciting again. When I'm watching it, it's a fun race to watch.
It is. That's Tommy Regan, who you just heard. We'll formally introduce him here in just a second. But one more thing before we officially bring in Tommy here. Dominic, you are now a married man. I made the trip out to New Mexico for your wedding. Had a great time. Do you feel different? How'd everything go from your perspective? And did you enjoy it? How'd everything go Saturday?
Man, it was the best day of my life. And I can tell you, you don't really, I don't know if you can relate to this, David, but the day just felt like it came and went so fast. And you get that time, those days after, to reflect on it. It's like, wow, did that just really happen? Were all these people here to celebrate, my bride and I? Like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I was very, very blessed and very privileged. All these people from all of our different walks of life, family, friends, colleagues, took the time to come spend with us. And just, I remember Jeff Gluck saying last week on our show that, man, it's like an out-of-body experience when you see everybody there. And, man, his words couldn't ring further from the truth, man. We've had some time to reflect on it. It's like, wow, it happened. And like I look down at my hand, there's a new piece of jewelry, and that's pretty cool. I love it, guys. It looks like to me a Hoosier racing slick, like a Jeff Bodine 94.
Is that tungsten?
It's tungsten. It's tungsten. So, man, a lot to be thankful for sure. All the family that was there, and just down to just trying to enjoy every bit of it and try to soak it all up. I have great memories for the rest of my life, Tyler.
That's
and
great.
I appreciate you making the trip out, man. It was awesome to have you be a big part of our day.
Hey, one of my favorite parts of the whole weekend, I kid you not, Dominic and I, we're having a good time, little makeshift bachelor party on Friday night at the casino, and we're drinking, enjoying ourselves. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, whatever it may be. And then, David, you just randomly called Dom out of the blue, told him you loved him and congratulated on him. Good luck. That was pretty cool, David. Good. Thanks for thinking of our boy here.
Well, man, I was busy and I knew he was getting married, and obviously I had to work the day of his wedding, so I couldn't be there. But I wanted to call you guys, let you know that I was there in spirit and I was thinking about you, because that is a special time in anybody's life, and it's kind of like winning a race when you get married, because it happens. It just comes and goes. And I remember the last race I won, when it was over with and you got done with everything, I just walked around the racetrack for a couple of laps because I'm like, man, it's getting dark and this day is going to go away. And you didn't want that. You wanted to live in that moment for as long as you could. So, I remember when I got married, I don't even remember it because I think we did it for all our friends and families and colleagues and everybody that showed up. And it's like, man, after the fact, I'm like, man, I don't even remember, I don't remember really much of anything because it was hectic. It was big, a lot of people. And I think, looking back on it, if I could have do it different, I would have probably did a little bit more how, where it was all about me and my wife, but it seemed like it was for everybody else. But it was a special day, you know what I mean? And it's cool to hear Dominic talk about it. And
I feel that, David. It was so cool to take the time. My wife and I wanted to make sure everybody that was there, we wanted to go to each and every table and hug everybody and tell everybody thank you for being here and just personalize those conversations. I remember my auntie getting married a few years back, and that was something that she and her husband did, and that left an imprint on me at 14 years old. If you ever get married, you got to do that. You got to go walk around, and that's something you won't regret. And it was awesome to be able to share those moments with every single guest that came to the wedding.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Starting a new life from that moment on. Pretty cool. Got a cool wife, good family. Got a baby coming, man. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on in Dominic Aragon's life.
Sure. No turning back now. But definitely we're excited for Dominic. Dominic, our next guest, you know him very well. Tell us about Tommy, not only his background as a racer, but just as a friend of yours too.
I've gotten to know Tommy. He and I have gotten to know each other on a personal level, on a friendship level over the years. He is somebody who is from Tracy, California. He has run in the NASCAR K&N Series, along with the NASCAR Truck Series and the Cup Series. He is somebody that has a wealth of knowledge. We're talking a huge depth of knowledge when it comes to how these race cars work, and always fun talking shop with him when it comes to motorsports. And he's definitely one of the most interesting and most smart people I've ever met, especially when it comes to working in this sport. And Tommy, thank you so much for joining us this week here on Let's Go Racing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you called me and I said I get to be on a David Starr show, I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, I've been following racing for a long time. I raced a half mile at the Altamont Speedway in 2001, 2002, and in the 2000s. I mean, David, I was following you, man.
Really, way back then.
Yeah, man. I listened. I heard all those stories of you and Brandon gone running, and so I've always looked up to you and enjoyed watching you over the years, and I still do. I still want to start the next chapter of my racing career, and I definitely look up to you in that aspect of you still doing it. It's working. And so thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to me.
We love it that you're joining us, and man, you've done a lot, and what people don't realize, or a lot of them do, some don't, how challenging it is, not only for myself, for most racers, and you're going through it and understand it, but man, it's just to be racing a cup race like you did in the Truck Series and all that, man. I think everybody that competes at that level is a winner and a champion, because it's so hard. It's not an easy task, every part of it, and sometimes I hear a driver downplay it a little bit, and I say, hey man, it was a big deal. You're a winner. You might not have won that race. You might not have been on the lead lap, but you were in that race and you're a champion. You're a winner for even competing in that race, because it's so difficult, and so hard. And I respect what you've done and what you're still trying to do.
Well, thanks. That means a lot. I'm hoping to. I got a couple questions for you today that I genuinely don't know the answer to. I'm hoping to pick your brain a little bit. Some practice questions, a couple qualifying questions, and so if we got time, I'd love to pick your brain on the show here a little later on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We always got time for that.
Absolutely. Hey, David, you have to ask him our traditional first off question that you ask all our guests.
Yeah.
There's a traditional question.
We,
Let's do it.
you know, we always ask our guests, you know, how did it happen? You know, how did the love of auto racing, you know, how did that start for you? You know, was it your dad, your uncle? You know, was it at a young age? You know, kind of tell us and the fans that are listening, you know, how you became to love auto racing. You know, how you started, how you became a race car driver.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely came from my dad. I was born and raised in a horsepower family, not necessarily organized racing, but we started off with V-drive boats. My dad was into drag boat racing, and
Wow.
we would go to I remember being a little kid watching Eddie Hill go 220 miles an hour on water in a quarter mile.
Wow.
Top fuel on water. And so drag boats was really big growing up. And then we had a Sanger tunnel with a 250 outboard. I did a sixth grade speech on how to drive a boat 82 miles an hour in the sixth grade. And so
Wow.
go-kart, you know, the fun thing out in front, dirt bikes in my teenage years. And then the 69 Chevelle and when I got my license, and then street racing for money for years. And we always did in a safe place, but lots of street races, $100, $20, $100, lots of that. And then we had the Altamont Speedway that we would go watch. And that's in Northern California, is the fastest half mile on the West Coast. And so growing up, my dad would take me there a couple of times. And then one day we got a car. My dad said, your brother can drive it one weekend and you can drive it the other. We didn't know anything about setups. We didn't know anything. We were just kind of friends with the owner of the track. And he said he'd let me go out there and just start with the late models, just stand on it.
Dude, that's awesome.
We ran a bunch of stuff like that in the early 2000s. And then, you know, a couple of years, and then that went away. And then I had to find myself, you know, I opened up a recording studio and I was doing some TV stuff, commercials for like 5 or 7 years. And I just started drinking a lot, and I was just drinking and partying and not caring about anything, just being just normal dippy, you know, not caring the world, just drinking, drunk all the time, drinking, let's go party, football game, let's go, drag race, let's go, you know. And I owned a recording studio, so I was doing TV commercials, bands, so there was lots of drinking coming in there. And then in 2008, you know, I just said, what's it going to be? You know, what am I going to do with my life? Okay, I was like in my late 20s, and I said, all right, what's it going to be? And I just said, you know what? I got to quit drinking or I'm just going to die. And I was wild, like just, I wouldn't just sit in a chair. We'd hop in my Chevelle, and I literally would have my friends all hop in, and we'd go blaze donuts at 3 a.m. in a residential neighborhood. All bad stuff. So never nothing bad happened, but it was gone too if I kept going down that way. So I said, I want to become a NASCAR Cup driver. And I said, that's what I'm going to be. And it's either going to be good or it's going to be bad. I make the decision. I have to make it happen. That's what I'm going to live with. So I put myself in a 30-day rehab just for alcohol. I said, I don't know if I need this or not, but we're going to put a stop to this once and for all. My mom, dad, they jumped on me with lots of love, and I just put the brakes on life. And I did the 30 days there. And to this day, since 2008, it's 222. I haven't had a drop of alcohol since.
Well, dude, that's what an awesome story, man. That's amazing. And it's cool that with all the love that jumped on your back from your mom and dad, and I'm sure others, to quit cold turkey and to realize, hey, man, I'm not really heading in the right direction. That's pretty inspirational, man. And it's pretty cool that you did that.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily addicted to the alcohol, but it was coming. You know, I knew it wasn't far. It was just a whole bad road. And so I feel like, you know, I said, I'm going to become a NASCAR. If I have to quit drinking, I better do something damn exciting. So I said, fine, I'm going to become a cup driver. And everyone's looking at me like, you need to stop telling people that. You need to stop talking like that. I said, I'm doing it. So my head started clearing up in 2010, 2011. I started reading up on all the books on marketing. And 2012, I caught back up with some of the people I used to race at the Altamont with, who were now in the K&N West. and I sold like 8 races, race by race, just hopping on the phone. I did a bunch of K&N races in 2012. And at the end of that 2012, I long talk with Bodine, and he said I could run trucks. And I said, did you just say I could run trucks? I'm going to hang up on you before you change your mind. And I packed my stuff up an hour later, I packed my stuff up and bought a plane ticket to Daytona.
Wow.
And so I got to Daytona. I ended up meeting up with BJ McLeod and Adam at New Smyrna Speedway. And I negotiated a deal with Discovery at the time to have my own TV show. And so I made that deal with Discovery because I had some video background, and BJ and I and Adam, and I sold a bunch of sponsorship, and we produced this TV show. We all moved to Mooresville, BJ and I and Adam and his wife, and my brother. We were all living in a house for like 6 months producing this TV show. We finished it, and it aired a full season on Discovery.
That's amazing.
All the sponsors were happy, and BJ and I rented a bunch of racetracks around, and each episode was about us going to a track, and he taught me how to move from the K&N series to the trucks. And then he had a lot of success. I didn't have the knowledge, the business knowledge yet. I had the ambition, I had the drive, and I was an adaptive driver. I wasn't a proactive driver. I was just adapting to everything that was going on around me and trying to do with what was coming at me instead of controlling my future. BJ was in control of his future, and he took off. And man, I'm so proud of him to this day. So 2015, I ran some truck races and did some stuff like that. And then I ended up selling enough sponsorship to make my first cup race in 2017. So 9 years of every day walking out my front door saying, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I don't care what happens, I got to do this. 9 years after I got sober, I started and finished my first cup race.
Dude, that's amazing. Wow.
So what a road to get there. When you made that cup start, were you reflecting a bit, going back all the memories to get to that day?
I won the race when I crossed the start line. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was driving around Sonoma. I had Danica Patrick on my right, and like all these people were. I was on the track with Junior when he was still racing, and like all these people that I look up to, and I still didn't think it was going to happen. I was on the track, but once it did, I had a good race. I didn't wreck the car. I finished on a good lap and 32nd out of 40.
That's good.
Absolutely. And Tommy, you beat the champion that year. You beat Martin Truex Jr. and you beat road course ringer AJ Allmendinger in your first start.
Come on. That's hey, I'll take it. Whatever.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So I have to ask you, Tommy, were you like David, how David was saying that day he won at Martinsville in 2006 and he didn't want the day to end? Was that how you felt at Sonoma when you climbed out of that car?
Well, I didn't leave no damn Sonoma because of the traffic, man. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried to leave that place. But
they reroute you and stuff, and they send you another way, and the traffic's a nightmare at Sonoma.
No, it was good. No, I definitely understand the feeling. I was exhausted. I was mentally exhausted from the 9-year climb, and it just shut down. And it's right. It's such a great feeling. Now, nowhere near a win. I mean, my gosh, I don't know what it's like to win a race on that level. I can only imagine how cool and awesome that day must have been for you, David, winning at
Well, you were winning, dude. You won that day because you accomplished something that took you a long time to accomplish, and being there, practicing, qualifying, running the race. I mean, you won, dude. You know what I mean? I don't even know if you didn't even make 5 laps, you still won because you were there doing it. You know what I mean? But you finished the race, you finished good, beat some people like Dominic said, and
I didn't know.
I would just tell you, man, it's just inspirational to hear your story, and then the drive after that was over with, the determination and passion to keep going, you know what I mean, and knowing that, hey, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty cool.
Well, you're definitely giving me the hope, keeping hope alive for me, man.
Well, hey man, it's anything's possible if you work hard enough, and you got a lot of want to, and a lot of desire, a lot of passion. I mean, anything's possible. So I'm excited to see what's next for you, and excited to see you back on the racetrack, whether it's the Xfinity Series or the truck racing or K&N or whatever. You know what I mean? I think it's obviously just right around the corner, and I'm excited to see that happen for you again.
Yeah, really quick. When the pandemic hit, and I did that last truck race with Dominic, and right before the pandemic at Vegas. Dominic,
yeah, man, that was already almost 5 years ago. Can you believe that?
He was standing next to me, and I was like, we were singing a national anthem. That was such a fun day, man. That was such a really cool time. But right now, real brief. I don't want to talk about myself the whole dang show, but during the pandemic.
Well, man, it's all about you. We want to hear about what's going on with Tommy. You know what I mean? So tell us.
When the pandemic hit, I was like, all right, what's going on here? Am I going to keep running with the lower end teams? Am I still going to be learning? Am I not going to learn? Where am I? What's it going to be? So I said, look, I need to go back to school. I need to learn a lot more stuff than what I have right now. I don't have the knowledge to win races. I don't have the skills. I had the skills, ability. I was like a computer with no software. I had the hardware, but it just wasn't there. I was a phone with no apps. I needed to go back. And I realized this. I was like, look, I got the monkey off my back. Now let's do this for real. You get, one real shot to race with the pros and show the world what I can do. So I went back to school during the pandemic to learn more about business. I went to the PMI Institute, which is an institute for project management, and it teaches people to do things the right way, not my way. Proven ways. I already tried it my way. And like how to build a Golden Gate Bridge or how to build a skyscraper correctly. And so I can use all of this stuff now to build my racing program the right way with proven processes to force success over the next time. So it's like I'm starting over again. When I come back, I got to rebuild my street credit. I got to rebuild, all of my stuff. But now I have a foundation to really grow and become successful and have a pathway to push success. Like races aren't just accidentally won. I'm sure when you run your Martinsville race, you made it happen and things were made to happen. Yes, there's a little bit of luck on that day, but there's a lot of pieces and processes that need to be correct to make that happen. And I want to at least try and take, like I said, being a reactive driver, I want to be a proactive business person and a proactive driver moving forward. And I believe that I can get back on the track. And one day, if I could look at my fireplace mantle and see maybe 1 or 2 trophies, boy, that's a win. That's it for me. That's going for it.
So Tommy, what's next? Do you want to do trucks, Xfinity, ARCA? What's on the table for you? What you're looking at to get back into the race car?
So Brett Bodana, we had a long conversation about this, and we both came up with the idea that, hey, look, let's run 15 or 20 Xfinity races and go from there. Let's get back. I have my 1.5 miles right now in Xfinity, and so I had to get myself into a position financially at home because I'm struggling. I'm not rich. I sell all my sponsorship race by race. So I started a graphics business, and it's gonna pay my monthly bills and allow me to go sell sponsorship on a fly, to take a meeting on a fly, to go to meetings. So plane tickets are expensive. It's like $700 round trip anytime you want to go somewhere. That stuff adds up. $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but for me, when I have to pay the side gigs and sell the sponsorship, I'm struggling right now. But I'm on a pathway for November now, December, and January to sell as much sponsorship as I can. And I'd love to make the Phoenix race in the beginning of 2023, and I'd love to make the Vegas race.
Well, man, we'd love to see you out there. There's opportunities out there, man. You sell a sponsorship like you have in the past, there's opportunities waiting for you. So I don't see why we couldn't see you in Phoenix or Las Vegas in 2023. No doubt about it.
It's my specialty. It's what I'm strong points at. I've always sold every race. 75,000 here, 35,000 here, you know, not to name off numbers because it just came in my wallet and went straight out. But you know, I'm giving it everything I got. Let me just tell you that.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, so walk us through that, Tommy. I know you're busting your butt and you're selling sponsorship and you're networking, you're making calls. What does the day to day or the week to week of that look like? Like somebody in your position trying to sell sponsorship, getting back to the racetrack. Really walk us through how hard that grind is and just making those phone calls or reaching out to people and how that all looks from your end.
Well, get ready. This is a real schedule. I could show you my Excel sheet. So Sundays are my day off. I don't do anything on Sundays. I watch the race and I don't do laundry. It's not like, oh, it's my day off from my normal. Now let's do all the housework. No, my project management had taught me my Sundays are off. I just go to the beach. I don't think about anything. I completely reset. Monday morning, I'm up at 5:30 a.m. I eat breakfast right away. I prep my food until 6 o'clock. So all of my food is cooked daily. I cannot eat leftovers. I just don't do it. It's like a piece of bread floating in the cooler. You're just not going to eat it. You know, so I've learned, you know, that I got to cook my food every single day. And so at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I'm studying setups, suspension setups, new shock therapies, new springs, you know, frame atoms, the atoms in the steel. So all setups. And then from 7 to 8, I'm catching that 7:15 iRace. So I'm iRacing on the sim in the morning time. And then probably from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I'm in the gym. I shower, you know, from 10 to 10:30, I get all ready. And at 10:30, I'm out on the road, driving down to Fort Lauderdale, driving to Miami, you know, going, pounding the pavement on the phones on the way there, trying to go to at least 5 to 7 businesses a day, selling. And then also during that time, while I'm making calls, going to sell a sponsorship, I see a little restaurant or something, I'll walk in and see if I can sell them some graphics. So I'm doing good. I just did a restaurant today. I decked out the whole place. So it's kind of helping me a little bit. And then 9 o'clock at night, I have to shut everything down. I don't watch TV during the week. I uninstalled my Facebook. I uninstalled my Instagram. I don't do social media. I don't listen to the radio. I don't watch TV. I don't do anything. I don't let my dopamine go out because I will watch Instagram. I swear to God, I will watch that stuff forever, man. And I won't go to bed. I looked at the clock one night. It said 12:57 a.m. I was like, whoa.
Man,
so
sounds like you have a full day before it's even noon.
No, that's what I do. And then till 5 o'clock, and then I'm doing graphic, and then I get home at 5, and then I do my computer graphic work to do the stuff that I sold. And then by 9, and then I'm in bed at 10:30. And that's my whole life. I love my life. I'm extremely balanced. Life for me is a conveyor belt, and it's just this constant conveyor belt of crap every week is coming down into my life. It don't stop. It never stops. I can either ignore it and just let it pile up and then do all this work to clean up this mess, or I can have a well-balanced life and just like that suitcases coming off the airplane, you know, the guys, you just got it going. And so my structure and my path is doable. My communication is better now than I've ever had it in my entire life. My workload is good. I'm on a great path. It's just, do I want to race or not? That's what it boils down to. And that's what it takes if I want to race.
Tell me this. I'm very curious, Tommy, with you doing sponsorships and being a race car driver and being a graphic designer too. Are you designing your own race cars too? Is that something you've done?
Yeah. I did all my own graphics for all those other ones. Now, keep in mind, this is still my lifestyle because I don't have a bunch of sponsorship now. When I have the sponsorship, the graphics will be off, and I'll hire a person to do my race graphics and the business. So it gets easier when I sell this first load over the next 3 months. But right now, this is not my fun time. This is not the time standing next to the car, happy and listening to the national anthem. This is like my dark time. This is not a fun time for me. And it's not a way that I want to live. I want to be racing and I want to be providing value to businesses like I always have. But this is the cards that I got. And this is what I have to work with and dig through it and push.
Absolutely.
David, I mean, you talk to guys all the time, and you've been there before too, of, you know, counting down to your next race and trying to find everything you can. I mean, what Tommy's talking about here, you can relate. This is a grind every day. No, there are no days off like this.
No, and I understand everything he's going through. If not unless you come from wealthy family, your parents or grandparents, somebody's really wealthy. A lot of us, not all, but a majority of us have to go out and, find sponsors to make sure that the platform that NASCAR offers us will benefit that company, and, with what our sport, again, the platform that's there, the fan base, the national exposure, digital, radio, everything that comes with NASCAR, man. It's a great platform for any company. And I think Tommy's just a phone call or visit away from having that opportunity. And what's good about Tommy being a Cup driver and racing in the NASCAR Truck Series, he can say, "Hey, I'm a NASCAR driver," because he is, and it gives him instant credibility. But I would just say there's nothing easy about it. But I can assure you that once you keep, you're going to walk into an office and then behind that door is going to be open arms one day. You're going to get a phone call, or you're going to make a phone call to somebody, and they're going to say, "Man, we'd love to see you, love to tell us more about NASCAR." But what Tommy and their sport can offer a company is incredible. Whether you're, Mark Truex Jr., myself, Tommy Regan, Tommy, as a driver, a spokesperson for that company, and to let them bring their customers and employees to a race, and the TV exposure and the excitement of your customers, and man, just all the marketing and promotion that happens with that, man. I think every company in America should be part of NASCAR, and if they're not, they need to be.
Absolutely.
But what Tommy's doing right now, we all do it. We all go through it. I'm still doing it. And, and as you do it more, you learn what works, what doesn't work. And just, you just kind of learn. I had to kind of learn how to go out there and talk to companies and how to sell the sport and how to educate a company how wonderful what NASCAR can do for their company, business-wise, sales, enhanced, B2B. There's so much to it. I'm not educated on it. I just kind of learn as I went. Because
there's no blueprint book on how to do it. You show me the book, man, I'll go buy it right now. I don't care if it's 1,000 pages. And that's what I'm telling you. Like when I was growing up and the 2012 to 2017, I sold a ton of sponsorship. It's something I'm good at, but I didn't have the foundation and the knowledge below me. I've been in the tidal wave. I had my TV show on Discovery, and I had all the sponsorship possibility in the world. But what he just said, you got to have the whole package, and that's the foundation of being able to deliver more than one campaign, the follow-up, showing them,
return on their investment.
And I didn't have all that then, but I feel like I'm well-rounded now to move forward, better now than I've ever been in my entire life.
Let me ask one more thing, and then we'll move on to our.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on
here just a second. One more thing, and then we'll move on here. Tommy, one of the things that I think that you bring up goes back to a bigger discussion in the NASCAR world right now of the ongoing negotiations between the RTA and NASCAR, of RTA wanting a bigger piece of the pie of when it comes to revenue with ticket sales and with TV distribution and all that. They want a bigger cut of the pie because they don't want to have to rely as much on sponsorships. That, every team, those that are even running at the top level and winning championships are losing money. They're hoping, they're lucky if they break even. From your perspective, whether it's from somebody that drives at your caliber or even just looking at these bigger teams, how much of a relief would that be if these teams in this next deal can get a bigger cut of the pie there?
Well, I've never got a cut of any no pie forever, so I don't really know what it's gonna, if it's cherry or chocolate. But you know, I still need to rebuild my brand, my street credit. I'm very grateful that NASCAR allows me to be a part of NASCAR right now. So I want to be whatever helps the greater cause for them for right now. There's more than enough meat on the bone for me to get my profit and get my stuff going. If I work my programs correctly. When I get, way down the road and I'm bringing more value, then I have it all comes to how much value do you provide? How much are you doing? How much value are the teams? What you negotiate, how you negotiate, where it's negotiated at, I don't think I'm anywhere near to even be in that conversation. I might see myself coming in as a team owner next year if I can close over the next 2 or 3 months, but bringing up anything on that, I'm going to kind of hide out in the background and do my thing for a while. If you want my honest answer, I can't answer that. I don't know enough about that. I don't know enough about that data. My head's been more in shocks, springs, frames, driving style. My head honestly hasn't been, or do I know enough information about that area? Sorry.
What about you, David? We hear Denny Hamlin and others be very vocal. Dale Jr. too. The teams want more. How much would that do if they don't have to rely on sponsorship as much? How much would that help, you think?
Man, I think there's a balance there, and obviously just the revenue sharing right now is unbalanced. I would say, I'm not involved as a team owner, but and I don't know you guys and Tyler. That's kind of like a little bit of Dominic, your expertise. Your even understanding how the NFL works. With the TV revenue. How does that work? The racetracks get a portion of it. The teams get a portion of it. NASCAR gets a portion of it.
Well, Dom, the statistics that came out now, to be fair, NASCAR has refuted this and they claim it's not true. But the RTA, Dom, claims that teams are only getting 7% of revenue, that 93% is going to NASCAR and the tracks, which, isn't even close to other sports. I believe the next closest Major League Baseball, the players and teams were getting 80% of revenue. And so you're talking about a huge gap of what these teams and drivers get compared to what other sports get of their of that slice of the pie.
And with this RTA thing too, there were leaders from some of these different teams, like the big four teams, like Hendrick, Joe Gibbs Racing. They had met with NASCAR and they were trying to figure out this next TV deal because that's going to be coming up in the next year and a half. So where can more money come to the teams? Because they said right now the business model in the Cup Series, for lack of a better phrase, Tyler, is broken. The teams aren't making that much money. They're in dire need of these sponsorships to continue, but they want to be able to break away from that, to be able to maybe rely a little more on the race winnings and less on sponsorship. So when I hear that it's less than 10% the teams are making, that's mind-blowing, honestly.
Oh, the reality of it is, Dom, to put it in the simplest of terms, a Kyle Busch situation where Joe Gibbs can't afford to keep Kyle Busch because he loses one sponsor, that should not happen. Period. There should be enough money there that Joe Gibbs Racing gets from TV revenue or ticket sales that they should be able to pay Kyle Busch whatever it takes to keep it.
Absolutely. That's why we're seeing him jump ship to Richard Childress Racing. If this would have been worked out a little bit better, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. We'd be talking about how Kyle Busch renewed with M&Ms or even without M&Ms. No problem at Joe Gibbs Racing for years to come. But maybe a situation like this spotlights that a little bit more and the changes that maybe the teams would like to see happen in this next deal.
Yeah, it's a interesting conversation for sure. We'll move on to our news and notes segment in just one moment. Before we do, today's show is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter is the official ticket resale marketplace of Worldwide Technology Raceway, where David won in 2004. Fans can also get tickets to any type of event, including sports, concerts, and theater productions. TicketSmarter is committing to helping those in need by donating $1 from every transaction to various charity organizations. Head over to TicketSmarter.com To find tickets for upcoming events, that's TicketSmarter.com. Dominic, what is going on in the NASCAR world today that we need to cover?
Well, we like to say we cover every NASCAR angle from all points around the globe. And we're going to go to Europe for this one, Tyler. So 2023 at the NASCAR Euro Series, we'll be heading to Finland for, get ready on this, NASCAR on ice. Motorsport.com was the first to report on the weekend of March 4th through 5th. Race cars will be taking, and I quote from their article, breathtaking scenery of frozen lakes, where the first time in NASCAR history, cars are going to be racing on ice in the new NASCAR Arctic Ice Race.
That's tight.
That's so cool. But I got to say, Tyler, I think David kind of had a head start on this when you guys did your ice race up in Minnesota with our buddy up there, Greg Plunkett, in January.
Man, no doubt about it. Barry Sinek with Sinek Transportation. Barry had, his NASCAR on ice. Barry has, man, Barry's a great friend and a good sponsor of mine. He owns a company called lowchase.com, and he's from Duluth, Minnesota. And he called me last year. He brought a buddy of his to Michigan, and Mark Androwski was his name, and he was an ice racer. And man, that intrigued me. I'm like, what do you mean ice racing? He's like, man, the lakes freeze up and we race on ice. And I'm like, man, I can't comprehend that, man. There's no lakes in Texas. I've never seen the lake frozen anyway. You know what I mean? It's just so bizarre. So Mark and Barry gave me an invitation to come up to Duluth, Minnesota, and to put me in a car and race on ice. And in fact, it was not only myself, it was Stephen Light, who was a teammate with me at MBM Motorsports last year. It was Rayum, what's his first name?
Josh Rayum.
Josh Rayum, that owns a truck team and a cup team and a Xfinity team. Josh came up, and there was another driver. I don't remember who it was, but man, we went to Duluth, Minnesota, and dude, it was one of the most coolest things I've ever done. It was unbelievable, and God, it was so much fun. And they took me to this lake a day before. We're flying into Duluth, Minnesota. Barry Sinek picked me up in his airplane in Minneapolis and flew me up to Duluth. And I said, dude, what are all these tents on these frozen lakes? I mean, what are they camping on the ice? He said, dude, they're ice fishing. I'm like, what?
Can blow by at about 160.
Dude, it was amazing, man. And then when we landed and he took me to the lake that we were going to race at, and I was just couldn't believe how thick the ice was. And he showed me the track. And the next day, man, I couldn't wait to do it. But man, you jump in I drove a Monte Carlo, like a 1982 Monte Carlo, and man, it was the coolest thing. And I was just, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. And I'm starting to figure out, hey, man, we need some weight transfer. We need some forward bite, So I'm trying to figure out how to make the car, rotate to the back so it'll have some forward pickup, forward grip on the tires. And Josh Rayum, his car, he didn't make the feature race, and I don't remember what happened, but he said, hey, man, can I ride with you? And I'm like, man, absolutely. So Josh was my rode in the passenger seat of this Monte Carlo that had a roll cage in it. They turned it into a race car, but it had a passenger seat. And I think he had more fun riding with me. I think we started like 15th or 16th, drove up to 4th. And man, it was the coolest thing I've ever done. And since then, since last winter when we did this before Daytona, Barry Sinek has gone out, and I think he's bought 5 or 6 former Cup cars. And we're going to have NASCAR on ice again in Duluth, Minnesota. I think January. I don't have the dates on it, but man, I mean, I'm not going to be the only NASCAR driver. There's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 other ones. And man, he's gone out and invested in real NASCAR Cup cars.
He went all big on it.
It's unbelievable, but it was one of the coolest things. And I couldn't wrap my head around it when I first got the invitation and learned about ice racing, because I'm like, that's nuts to me. You know, I'm from Texas where it's 100 degrees 12 months out of the year, you know. And but man, what an education it was. And God, that was so much fun. And man, the people, the racers that race on ice up there in Duluth, Minnesota, and all in that area, man, the passion they have for racing on ice. I loved it, man. I couldn't talk to enough people. They thanked me for coming up there, along with Stephen Light and others that came. But man, what a cool event that was. And again, we had so much fun, and Barry had so much fun that he went and bought 6 Cup cars. And now we're really going to have NASCAR on ice in Duluth, Minnesota sometime in January. So pretty cool deal.
David, tell me this, with the Euro Series doing this, if this goes well, this has got to be something that comes to NASCAR stateside, right? I mean, if this is a success and goes as planned, they got to put something together to do this over here, right?
Man, no doubt about it. And the cool thing, you know, let me back up and tell you about last January. I mean, they had, God, I want to say there's 10,000 people, spectators.
Jeez, wow.
And man, it was, I mean, I don't remember exactly. There was a lot of people. I don't know if it was 10,000, but there was a lot of people. And we went over there during intermission time after our heat races. And man, we signed autographs. We talked to the fans. It was unbelievable. In fact, one of my childhood heroes, a guy named Tommy Archer, the Archer brothers that used to race in IMSA. I
raced with the Archer brothers in the
Archer brothers. Freaking Tommy Archer was spectating. And man, I said, Tommy, he wanted to take a picture with me. I said, Tommy, you're one of us. You need to be over here signing autographs. I mean, you're freaking Tommy Archer, man. Bobby Archer. I mean, growing up watching IMSA racing and man, they were, God, those guys were amazing, you know. But yeah, Dominic, Tyler, I see it being a home run, and I really see NASCAR doing something here in the United States, future years to come. I think they're going to go over there. I think they're going to see how cool it is, and I think it's going to be something that I don't know how it's going to work, but I think NASCAR is going to get more behind it over the next 4 or 5 years, and I think you're going to see something in the wintertime up in that part of the country, up near the Duluth somewhere, because
New Hampshire, January.
Dude, it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal. These people are very passionate about it, and to have the fan base and then understanding. And what were you saying, Dominic? Who's going and where are they going?
The NASCAR Euro Series, they'll be doing it in Finland next March. Man, Dave, they're going to have to hire you as a consultant. You really have some experience on this.
Well, I mean, hey, man,
David to Finland.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm the right person, but man, as the racer and Tommy, you're just, man, once you get in there, man, I was racing my rear end off, dude. It was amazing, man. And I was, I'm beating and banging, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that thing to turn in the center and how to get forward bite. And man, I was learning. I was like a sponge, and I was asking questions, changing the car. But dude, it was one of the coolest things ever. It was unbelievable, man. And then the feature race, man, I was laughing. So, man, I started way in the back, and I'm making some passes, and there was a pickup truck, and that thing was laid over on the right rear. And I swear to God that the left front tire was like 2 foot off the ground, 3 foot off the ground. And I was laughing because I'm like, man, I can't believe what I'm passing this truck, a race truck. And man, it was so surreal. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah, sounds like one heck of a time, man. I would love to go out there and go check that out someday.
Tommy, you want to race on ice?
Yeah. I'll race on ice. I mean, my first time I've only raced on dirt one time outside of dirt bikes, and that was in the Eldora race. My first dirt race in my whole life was the Eldora race. So I'm sure I'll try ice. Why not?
Well, dude, I raced, man, from the time I was 13 to the time I was 20, Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes on Sunday. And I can assure you that, when I got there and saw this, I got this. Anything you learned on dirt doesn't really apply to ice racing, man. It's cool though. But forward bike, trying to get it to turn and keep your momentum up through the center of the corner and trying to get traction off the corner. Obviously, that's dirt racing.
Got no steering.
But dude, it was the coolest, man. It was the coolest thing, man. I was serious and laughing. It was unbelievable, man. And Tommy, man, I'm gonna talk to Barry Sinek tomorrow. You might be one of our NASCAR drivers too. We'll see.
Hey, lock me in, man. I'm always down to burn some ice.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, I do have a couple really cool questions to ask you before we end today, David. So if you guys could save some time for me.
We will. We'll get to that here in a second. We'll get to that. We still got some other stuff to get to. Dominic, what else is going on?
So Martinsville this weekend, we have the penultimate race of the year. We have stop 35 and 36 on the Cup Series schedule. We know 4 guys are going to get chopped. 2 for sure are going to point in. 1 could win their way in, but Ross Chastain with a little bit of a buffer. We see Chase Elliott, William Byron in a position to transfer, Ryan Blaney below the cut line, Chase Briscoe below the cut line. It's going to be a fun race to watch at Martinsville this weekend, 500 laps. And I can tell you guys, I spoke with President Clay Campbell earlier this week from Martinsville Speedway, and he assured me, he said, racing is going to be a lot different, to give it another chance. And Tyler, I thought of you when he said this, because he had told me,
oh boy,
because like being the football guy, and you cover sports, you cover a plethora of sports besides NASCAR, how, okay, maybe we think there's going to be a good matchup, and then the Packers end up getting blown out. So like, that's where my mind went on this. Maybe the Martinsville race in April wasn't the best, but there were a lot of factors that went into it. We're actually going for a championship now. There's going to be a lot more factors. I think we see more with this Martinsville race, and I kind of agree with them. I think we got to give a second chance to Martinsville this Sunday.
Well, I mean, you race different when you're racing for a championship than you are a regular season race. And this elimination race we've seen in the past, what was it, a couple of years ago, Ryan Newman moved somebody out of the way to get into the championship race,
Biffle Logano.
Right.
Hey guys, bear with me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay, David will be right back. Stand by.
But what about Boyer smashing into Gordon?
Tommy, I mean, even if the next gen car hasn't been great on short tracks, I believe the drivers, they'll put on a show. They know what it takes to get this done.
Sure. I think they've come a long ways this year. I think a lot of teams are learning, obviously know a lot more about it this weekend than what they did a year ago. There's been a lot of learning, and I think that's where the even balance is replayed the field quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was brought up too. I mean, this was the 6th race of the year when we saw the race at Martinsville, and it was a rain delayed race. It was 40 degrees. You have lower temperatures. You're not going to really see a lot of grip put down on the racetrack. Granted, it's going to be in the 60s. It's going to be warmer, but this race should, I think, provide better racing. You have better factors, and I think there's better things in the forecast for it, not just weather-wise, but so many things to help the recipe here to make the better racing at Martinsville come Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go ahead and break this down. Who wins the race and who advances? Dom, I think Chase Elliott's going to win, and obviously Joey Logano's already advanced. And I think that you're going to see Ross Chastain get one of those spots. And then the other spot, I think, ends up going to William Byron. What say you?
Man, I just don't know about William Byron advancing. I do agree with Chase Elliott. I do agree that he's going to win the race. Ross Chastain's got enough of a buffer. Heck, he finishes, 12th or 13th, even no stage points. He's probably going to point his way in, barring no other outside winner below the cut line. But, man, I got to think Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, Martinsville.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about Denny. Duh. Let me take Byron out, put Denny in. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're actually going to agree 100% carbon copy there then. I think Denny Hamlin gets it done. He's going to race, again, to try to win his first title. Chase Elliott will be trying to become a 2-time champion along with Logano. And I think Chastain will be in that mix as well come Phoenix. I think those are your 4 that are going to advance to the championship race. What about you, Dave and Tommy?
Yeah, I think we signed a piece of paper against the Vegas betting that we're not allowed to say that kind of stuff. It was something like that. But all in all, I have no pick. If I had $1, I don't know enough. I can't pick. I really, I mean, that's where I'm at. I don't know. David?
What do you think, David? How's it all going to play out Sunday?
Man, it's going to be a hell of a race, you know, and I mean, there's a lot at stake. You know, one of the things that I would say, you know, I think the Hendricks cars are going to be really strong. If you look at what Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson have done over the years, those guys have dominated Martinsville. You know, Jeff being the general manager of Hendrick Motorsports, and I feel like that the Hendrick cars are going to be strong. But man, it don't take much there, man, to somebody make a mistake on pit road, somebody get in the corner a little bit too hot. But man, what I do know is you probably don't want to be leading the race when you probably don't want to be the leader when they're waving the white flag. Whoever's running second behind you is probably going to be your winner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to be exciting. There's a lot at stake. You know, and I think I heard y'all talking earlier. Who do we got? We got Joey Logano, and who else has a guaranteed spot?
Joey Logano's already advanced. Kyle Larson's advanced on the owner's side.
Right, but you know, you have to thank Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and man, Ross Chastain has had so much speed and ran so good all year. You got to put him in there, you know what I mean? But man,
you just named everybody.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. You know, it's hard to pick who's going to be the final four going into the championship weekend there at Phoenix. But man, I'm so excited about the Martinsville race because man, it's going to be a memorable race, that's for sure. Because there's so much at stake, you know.
No doubt about it. Should be a lot
man,
of fun.
People, you know, other competitors. I mean, you know, tempers are going to flare, and you know, these guys that need to win and need to have great runs. I mean, if you bump somebody wrong or do something, piss off another driver, you're not even part of the chase, the retaliation. You know what I mean? And
Bubba Wallace is back.
You know, I mean, there's just so much that can happen. You know, I think the Martinsville race is probably going to be one of the most viewed race of all the races this year, just because there's so much at stake, and to see who's going to come out of Martinsville, who's going to be our final four participants that are going to be racing for the championship. So, man, there's so much at stake. The excitement level's over the top. It's going to be cool, man.
Well, you mentioned payback, Dom. Just real quick, 60 seconds on this. Ross Chastain trying to get one of those final spots. There's a lot of people that would love to get even with Ross Chastain. This could be a very, very bad time for Ross to be racing at Martinsville here.
But really, is it? Because let's say something happens with Denny Hamlin, and Hamlin advances to the championship race, and Chastain does not. Ross Chastain's going to be a moving roadblock for Denny Hamlin at Phoenix the week after.
I'm not even saying Denny. There's a list of guys, though. Martin Truex.
Yeah, so you do have your guys that are out that don't have anything to race for this season. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I feel like you're right. This would be the place to pay him back, lower speeds, short track, paperclip. I mean, it's like racing around 2 football fields. So a lot lower speeds. This would be the place to do it. Man, Sunday's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It will be. Let's go racing with David Starr, presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter Kim Boards, the primary sponsor this year on David's 08 Ford Mustang. We want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck race throughout the season. For the best deals on tickets, visit TicketSmarter.com to get your tickets today. That's TicketSmarter.com. Time for our Ask David segment. We ask you to submit questions to us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Star Podcast, Twitter at Star Podcast, and by email, DavidStarPodcast@gmail.com. And our first question in the inbox this week, this one's for Tommy. Jeffrey wants to know, what's the best place in the country to grab a slice of pizza and what's going on it?
All right. So let's get this thing straight. Round Table Pizza on the West Coast is the best pizza I have ever had in my entire life. It's a half Maui Zowie with extra sauce, extra crispy, only the extra large slices, because it's the way the shape of it is makes it all. Other half is double pepperoni onion with extra sauce, cooked extra crispy.
Man, it sounds like he's doing an ad read there, Tyler. I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll add them even if they don't pay.
Dom, what about you? Where are you getting your, if you had your one choice of pizza, where to get it, what are you putting on it? If you say pineapple, you're a communist.
Well, okay. Well, man, I guess I have to be careful how I'm going to answer this. If we're going national chain, I got to agree with Tommy.
No, not national changes anywhere.
Oh, anywhere. Okay. Well, then I'm going to go Surf Shack Pizza in Grants, New Mexico. Tyler, you've had that pizza.
I have.
Great pizza joint here.
I was expecting Surf Shack to be catered at your wedding, but
1 to
instead we had
10, 1 to
prime rib.
10, Tyler. What is it? 1 to 10. What is it?
Surf Shack is solid. I'd give it about a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
was expecting Dom to cater it at the wedding. We had prime rib instead. I'm not
Oh,
complaining.
geez. Pizza to prime rib?
Yeah.
I know.
Prime
shame
rib
on
for
us.
140 people? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, prime rib or bow tie chicken pasta, but pepperoni, green chili, and yes, Tyler, pineapple's going on that.
No,
Oh,
no.
dum, dum, dum.
How dare you?
I'm getting thumbs up from everywhere else, though, Tyler. I mean, you're just the oddball. What kind of abomination are you putting on your pizza?
Not pineapple. I can tell you that right now. Give me like a New York slice. I'll say this. I have 2 answers here.
Hey, no. We only got one answer. You get one answer.
Okay, well, I like New York and I like Chicago. My favorite pizza is probably Giordano's in Chicago, deep dish, pepperoni, sausage, all that cheese and sauce, just so good. That's my first choice. My second choice, give me a New York slice with all the goods, the pepperoni, the sausage, Canadian bacon, all that. So those are my preferences. David, where would you go? One piece of pizza, whatever you want on it, where are you going for it?
Dude, I'm pretty old school. You know, I'm a creature of habit. But man, Pizza Inn, Pizza Hut, you can't beat it.
Oh,
Dude, I love Pizza Inn and Pizza Hut. My 2 favorite pizza places anywhere in the country. Thin crust.
oh,
Dude, amazing, man. Amazing. There's
boo this man. Boo.
yeah, then that's cool, man. But hey, y'all know I'm a creature of habit. I probably eat at Pizza Inn when I'm in town here. There's one right down the road from my shop, and my guys that work at the racing school with me, they're like, not Pizza Inn again. I said, well, you're going to lunch with me. That's where we're going, man. Mexican food and pizza, dude. Every day almost.
If it's
Are you getting
not broken, don't
pineapple?
fix
Are you
it.
part of the pineapple crew, David?
No,
You're
I'm man. There's only 2 ways I like a pizza. That's either with pepperoni or hamburger or a combination. That's it, man. Extra marinara sauce, can't beat it, dude.
Oh, well, there you
Now,
go.
have I had some good pizza in New York and on the East Coast? I have, but nothing that, I can say, hey, in Chicago, I've been into some places there. The pizza was good, but man, I'm just a creature of habit, man. There's nothing better than a freaking thin crust pepperoni pizza from Pizza Inn, man, in my world.
I think David could go the rest of his life just eating Pizza Inn, the Olive Garden, and Whataburger.
Yeah, I think you're right there,
Absolutely,
Tyler.
dude.
And I want the record to be known too, man. If we're getting 2 slices of pizza here, I'm going with Round Table as my second choice. That's a close second to Surf Shack, Tommy. Round Table pizza. You got me introduced to that a few years ago. My wife
You
and I
still got a
love
little
Round
bit of
Table
growing to
pizza.
do. You're okay.
Where's that at?
What's the
So-
next question?
So, no, well, real quick. So, Tommy, where is Round Table Pizza? Where can people find it?
West Coast. It's a West Coast thing. They don't have
Okay.
any out here.
All right. So there you have it. Before we go and wrap up our final segment of Ask David, we turn things over to Tommy for a little Ask David. Tommy, what do you got for David here?
All right, hey David, I got some good questions for you.
Let's go to
these are
Tommy
real-
in Florida with this question.
Yeah, these are real questions. I genuinely do not know the answer to these questions, and I was hoping to pick your brain a little bit. And if it's gets into too intellectual property from your race team, just say so. But it all started off with 3 questions, and then it turned into like note to note to note to note. So they're cool questions. So first off, my first question is, how often does the car react differently than what you planned on, like on the first rollout of practice? Now let me touch on this for a quick second. I'm not digging on any digs at Bobby Daughter. They're a respectable team and they know what they're doing. I'm just saying, after you guys had your meeting and everybody's agreed, like, hey, this is how we're setting it up. And you know, you've raced a lot of races this year with the same team. I've always raced with a different team this race, a different team this race. So I've never had a baseline. Is there a baseline? How many times when your first rollout of practice is the car completely different than what you guys thought it was? Not from a bad setup from Bobby, but just, you know, just a different than what you guys had anticipated on.
You know, not that often, because when you roll out to practice, you got brand new tires. And depending on what track it is, you know, I've been racing at a lot of these racetracks for a long time, and I know the feel that I want to feel. You know, when I arc it in the corner, I need the thing to be underneath me where I can arc it. You need it to rotate. You need it when you turn that steering wheel, you need it to react. And then the drive up off the corner, I mean, you need to drive up off the corner. But you know, a lot of tracks, 1.5 mile tracks where you're carrying a lot of speed. You know, I mean, you're
so pretty much every race, you're not too far off from.
No, you're not too far off. It's when you start losing your fuel load and your tires start wearing out, then you can understand what you really have. You know, the first 6, 7, 8 laps, you know, it's almost like a mock-up qualifying run, you know. You know, I know right on the first lap, sometimes I know the first corner, you know, if my car is really good or not, you know, and, but there's been times, you know, all racers, when you go on a corner, when you get up to speed, you can take it off in corner 1, it doesn't react like you want it to react. You're like, whoa, something ain't right. You know what I mean? So, it's not always perfect like you would hope it is. And then sometimes you got to run an extra lap just to make sure that you didn't do anything crazy. And then the second lap, it does the same thing. Then it's time to pull into the garage and say, hey guys, something ain't right. It's too free on entry, or it won't turn in the center. And a lot of times you can dive off in the corner at 190 miles an hour. And next thing you know, you got the wheel turned, but the thing's going lateral, is going up against the wall because it's sitting on the splitter. There's no load on the front tires because the car is on the splitter. You know what I mean? And that happens every once in a while, you know. So, you know, you know the feel you're looking for. I do, because I've been to these racetracks so many times. And to be honest with you, it's not always what you think it's going to be. You know what I mean? You just never know.
Where I come from is I've always every race I'm with a different team, and sometimes I show up and it's right under me and we're just a little off, and other times I showed up and it's been way off. So I was just trying to ask somebody who's raced with the same team for many races if you know what I was getting at. So thanks for answering
absolutely. And it ain't always perfect from the start. You know what I mean? And okay,
that's good news to me, because I'm not used to having that.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's the next question?
My next question was falling into that. How predictable has the tire fall off during the race been throughout the 22 races you've done compared to how you planned it to be for the race? Has it been kind of close, kind of what you guys planned it to do, or is every fall off different than what you guys kind of plan on?
Yeah, every racetrack's different because you use a different compound, different number. The tires built different for different races, you know. And tire fall off is good. Sometimes throughout practice and throughout the first stage of a race, you know, there's a lot going on in a race. You know, you're paying attention who put on tires, who pitted. How much faster they are than you. But, you know, tire fall off is good. because tire fall off for everybody is good. You just don't want yours to fall off as much as everybody else's. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
My
pretty
question would be,
much.
let's say you're going to Texas and you plan for it to be, hey, we're gonna get 20 laps out of this tire. Is it usually around, like, you plan a different number for each track? I get that, but each track you go to, has it been around what you guys planned for on the?
Well, yeah, I believe it has. I'm not always involved uh, in the pit stop strategy, and I'm involved with a lot of stuff with our team, but I think most racetracks it's equal for all. The tire is going to fall off. It's going to fall off within 30 laps, fall off big, where you lose 2 to 3 seconds of, from the time the tire was brand new. But that's like that for everybody. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
okay, so you can kind of predict how the tire is going to act. It's not super unpredictable.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty standard. It's nothing. To answer your question, this year in 2022, I have not used tires that have been very surprising to how they fall off or didn't fall off. So it's pretty much the same as what we
that's good news,
anticipated them being. Yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, the people that I've never had, I didn't know the answer to the question because I haven't had some baseline. So that falls into my next question that you just answered. If I'm gonna, so basically nowadays I'm very familiar with the front shocks, the rear shocks, how the car acts with. I can feel the difference between cross weight and the center. Just as a communication question I have for you and I really don't know the answer to this question. And it's kind of like a 1, 2, or 3 level on how you communicate with your crew chief or your spotter or whoever's the car chief. If I was going to go into turn 1 and let's say New Hampshire, and I've already pre-planned my line with my crew chief, I've planned my apexes, I planned my steering input, how my turning patterns, my lifting patterns, my braking patterns, and we have all that set. But if I go into turn 1 and I follow what I'm supposed to do, I can tell if I'm loose on entry because my front end moved in, and I can also tell if I'm loose on entry because my rear end moved out. I would say, hey, look, I need to add a little bit more bump on my right front shock so it keeps the front end under me just for that split second until I dive in. Are you talking back to your crew chief? And this is in practice. Are you talking back to your crew chief on that level saying, hey, I believe we need more front bump on the right? Are you saying, hey, I got too much brake in the back? Or are you just regular characteristics of, hey, it's loose on entry, the front, or it's loose on entry, the rear? How deep do you go in practice? If that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I'll let my crew chief do his job, and that's a great question because at New Hampshire, when you dive into turn 1, dude, I'm going in there with a lot of speed, heavy on the brakes, and I drive in pretty deep, use the brakes, get off the brakes. Then I need that thing to rotate. It needs to cut like I want it to cut, and as it's rotating, I'm feeding it the throttle. And man, it needs to react. It needs to have good forward bite. It needs to rotate like I want it. Entry, you can't be loose on entry. Sometimes you have been loose on entry, and you can either, the bump, you can tow the right front, you can tow it out an 1/8 inch, that'll fix it. But there's several things you can do to tighten you up your race car on entry and loud on entry into the corners. But man, I'm not being the crew chief. I'm just telling my crew chief, hey, I'm loose on entry. We need to fix it. And let's fix it first. We come in, we'll make a change. And if I can get in the corner good, then I can get that thing to turn and I can shoot off the corners. But I don't tell them how to fix it. I just tell them what the race car is doing. When I get to them, I expect when I get to them, they'll make the right adjustments. We get back on the racetrack, and then we fix on entry, because I don't care who you are. You got to be able to get into the corner on any racetrack. If you can't, if you're loose, you're not going to have a great race. If you get in the corner and your race car won't turn, you're screwed there too. So yeah, but I'm not. Only time, sometimes during the race, if I'm tight in the middle or my forward bite ain't where I want it on exit of the corner, and we tried something, I'm communicating with the crew chief. Hey, you dropped air pressure on the right front. You dropped the track bar. I would tell you to put the track bar up, try wedge, do this, but I'm communicating, we're talking together, but I'm not really telling them how to fix it. At times I had suggested something because in past races, years past, I remember doing this and it made the car much better and the car would react to what I needed it to do. So yeah, but no, I'm not telling the crew chief how to fix my race car. I'm just telling them what it's doing, and it's their job to give me what I need.
Okay, thank you. Because I have a couple Xfinity teams that have approached me, and I was just, to run if I can't do my own thing next year. So I really didn't know where I'm supposed to be at on the such, how some of the other teams are doing it. So thanks for answering that. I appreciate it.
Well, I can tell you, you don't, if you're at Texas Motor Speedway, at Martinsville, Virginia, you don't want to be loose getting in the corner. You want that thing underneath you where you can, you can get in the corner deep, maybe a little bit deeper, use the brakes, get off the brakes. You need the thing to turn in the center, rotate. And as it's rotating, you need to get on that freaking gas pedal and you need to shoot off those corners. You want to keep as much momentum in the center of the corner as possible. Mm-hmm. And then, you want all the speed you can have coming off the corner, and, you got entry, middle, and exit. You know what I mean? And if you can't get in the corner, nothing else matters. But yeah, those three things apply. I don't care what kind of racetrack it is. You got to be able to get in the corner. Cars got to rotate in the center, and you got to exit. You got to have a good exit, and it's pretty basic, but I've never been a driver to tell my crew chief what they need to do to fix it. I just tell them what it's doing, and hopefully when I get back out the next time, it's fixed.
Okay.
Sure, very good.
Sure. Hey, thanks for your time, David. I really appreciate it a lot.
Oh man, thank you, Tommy. It's been awesome, dude.
Yes. Guys, we've had a lot of fun today. Before we go around the room real quick, Tommy, what do you got going on this weekend, man?
Well, just kind of, running my schedule all the way till Sunday, but now you guys got me all fired up to watch the Martinsville race. I'm probably going to go buy another rack of ribs, put on the barbecue and put on that race, maybe do a little snorkeling on Sunday. And, I don't know, probably go out by the beach for a little while when the race is over.
That sounds like a good time. David, you are off this week. Brandon Brown filling in for you. What are you doing in your downtime then?
Man, I had a big sponsor meeting today. Yesterday I was at my race shop for my racing school, getting our race cars ready. We got a big Peterbilt event next week. We got almost 200 race car rides next week. And talking to my racing team, we really wasn't scheduled to run the last Martinsville race this year. It's kind of a tough market from a sponsorship standpoint. So Brandon Brown will be driving my car, but I'm looking forward to getting to Phoenix and running the last race there. Earlier this year, man, I don't remember what happened to us, but we started dead last. And before the first segment was over with, we had driven up to 10th place. We had a great car. Unfortunately, after that first pit stop, they left the right rear tire loose, and we had to pit under green. It kind of ended our race. We finished the race, but we never really recovered from that. But looking forward to the last race there at Phoenix, finishing off the 2022 season. But bigger than that, man, just exciting to see who's going to win the championship and the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and definitely the Cup Series. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement going into Martinsville this weekend. And hey, just because we're racers, we're fans of the sport too. It's going to be an exciting weekend of racing there in Martinsville. So I'll be tuned in to all of it.
I'll be spending it here in New Mexico, spending it at home and my wife, and getting to really enjoy our first weekend as husband and wife. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So look forward to doing that. And Tyler, what are the plans this weekend?
Just staying here in Dallas. Nothing crazy this weekend. We'll definitely get back after it next weekend, but just laying low around here. But
so
had a great time last weekend for sure.
Tyler's life's been really sad for us, man. Only thing exciting, he was at your wedding, which was really awesome. That was this big exciting thing. Since the Jones report tour got canceled, he don't,
Yeah,
Tyler
would you call
Flops
David?
not as exciting as it used to be. You know what I mean?
There was no summer of Jones anymore now that we're in the autumn months.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fall
Hey,
of Jones. The fall of Jones.
Dominic, David doesn't even know what happened at that reception. So
I guess so, man. Yeah, I would say one of the top 10 moments. I was actually asked, what were your top 10 moments of the wedding? And trying to still figure out like 3 through 10. But you're in that top 10. You and Matt Corson dancing to the New Mexico music together for everybody's attention.
That happened, but I mean, there was a lot more good that happened that will leave to the imagination at the reception. That's what I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about Matt, but okay. Sure. On that note, we will go. As always, subscribe to Let's Go Racing with David Starr. It comes out each and every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. Hit that like button as well. We certainly would appreciate it. You can follow us on social media, Facebook.com/Star Podcast, Twitter @Star Podcast, and email us, davidstarpodcast@gmail.com. For Dominic Aragon, as well as Tommy Regan and David Starr and Tyler Jones saying so long. We'll put the checkered flag out in this episode. See you next week here at Let's Go Racing. Thanks for joining.
See you guys.